The undisputed Portal King does it again. Jordan Seaton is an LSU Tiger. How did they pull it off? What does it mean? We're talking about it. Locked on LSU. Here we go.
You are Locked On LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked On LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt Moscona. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. We are free, available wherever you get great podcasts, of course, on YouTube as well. So please subscribe. And as always, one of the fastest ways to help us grow is by leaving your comments below. So thank you sincerely for that. Thank you for helping make the Locked On Podcast Network the number one sports podcast network in the world. Thank you for watching weekdays on the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network as well. Well, Lane Kiffin has done it. Friday night, Jordan Seaton makes it official. He has committed to the LSU Tigers. In this episode, as we go live, we are going to run through how LSU pulled this off and what the impact is for the Fighting Tigers in 2026. So if you're just joining, Friday night, Jordan Seaton informed the LSU staff that he was picking the Tigers. He announced that he would be going live on his Instagram, later changed the Instagram avatar, his photo, to his jersey number 77 in an LSU uniform, and made the announcement. Of course, everyone has it now. I'll kind of tell you how the day played out, because the Seaton recruitment was an odd one, and Seaton, his uncle, kept things very close to the vest. We're not really in a rush to make a decision, and clearly we're not going to be persuaded or influenced to make an impulsive decision as this played out. Ultimately, Friday, I got a text just before my radio show. My live radio show is at 3 p.m. I mean, like minutes before I was going on air, someone very close to this situation texted me that the Seaton deal was coming to a head soon. And it was basically LSU in Oregon. And the LSU folks felt optimistic, but I don't think anybody felt really clear about this. Several other people that I communicated with, again, with deep knowledge of how all of this was playing out, also were not made aware of what was going to happen. And at about 6:30 is when things really started to move, it felt like, in LSU's direction. And the first notice that I got came at, I'll tell you, it was about shortly after 7 p.m. Central Time that I was first alerted that LSU was getting Jordan Seaton. It was the first text that I got that they were getting him. Started making a lot of different phone calls, trying to confirm the news, and ultimately ended up with 4 different people confirming that Seaton had, in fact, identified and alerted LSU that he was making the commitment, that he had identified the other schools involved, Oregon, Miami, Mississippi State, that he was choosing LSU and was not going to pick their school. So short time after that, Lane Kiffin tweeted out the tiger emoji with a bunch of exclamation points signifying a commitment. And then minutes after that, of course, is when Jordan Seaton made it official that he's picked the LSU Tigers. So a really frenetic day. And I guess the really interesting part about this is how this recruitment played out, because this is a guy who didn't go in the portal right away. Remember, it was just a little more than a week ago. His recruitment really only lasted about a week and a half from when he went into the portal to when he made his commitment. His first visit was to Mississippi State, sort of a courtesy visit to Phil Lodeholt, his position coach at Colorado. Phil Lodeholt, incidentally, was a one-time LSU commitment during the Saban era. Couldn't make grades. What a different era. Ended up playing at Oklahoma and then in the NFL. But then remember, last Friday, a week ago today, Seaton made the trip to Mississippi State. Saturday, he was at Miami. Sunday, he was in Baton Rouge. Monday, he was supposed to head to Eugene, Oregon. But LSU did an incredible job. Hat tip to Lane Kiffin, the entire staff, for pulling that thing together, because that visit that was only supposed to be Sunday became Sunday and all day Monday. And during that day Monday, when they went to the governor's mansion and met Governor Landry, they were really pushing for a commitment. And it felt like at that moment that Seaton wanted to pick LSU. LSU certainly wanted Jordan Seaton, but Seaton's uncle was one who kind of pumped the brakes, wanted Seaton to take the trip to Eugene, which ultimately he did not do. Instead, Tuesday morning, they flew to Atlanta. By now, you probably know how this played out. Tuesday night, Lane Kiffin, refusing to just rest on the laurels of the two-day visit, got on a plane, the MMR plane, and flew to Atlanta Tuesday night to go see Jordan Seaton face-to-face and make a final push. There were other staff members that went, I'm told, on that trip. Dan Lanning in Oregon also went to see Seaton in Eugene. Now, earlier this week on Wednesday, I was in Houston for the Bear Bryant Awards, and Dan Lanning was expected to be there. So I don't know if Lanning flew from Eugene to Atlanta, or if Lanning was already in Houston and just made the hop from Houston to Atlanta. But anyway, these coaches did what they had to do, right? I mean, they went to great lengths to show this prospect how much they wanted him to be a part of their program. And ultimately, it's the thing that we're going to continue to say about Lane Kiffin, which is the fact that he made this comment during that speech he gave earlier this week at the Greater Baton Rouge Business Report luncheon, where he talked about this pushing him. This was the quote. Okay, so keep in mind this was Tuesday morning. So when Lane Kiffin gave this speech, it was the same morning that they wrapped up a 2-day visit with Seaton, and Seaton's flying to Atlanta. This is what Lane Kiffin said at that Business Report luncheon Tuesday. Give a listen.
And when I called Coach Saban and talked it through with him, he said, Lane, you'll always regret if you don't go to LSU. It's the best job in America. And when he said that, that really made the decision for me. And as I've looked at it, it has pushed me. It has got me out of a comfort zone that we were doing amazing things, but you come here and you feel the power of the place, and it drives you every day to even go to another level.
It's pushed him out of his comfort zone, pushed him to a new place. Well, look at what you've seen. He got on a plane and flew to Atlanta to see Jordan Seaton. Think back to the Sam Levitt recruitment. Whenever they took their eye off the ball, he flies to Knoxville to go see him after his Tennessee visit before he goes to Miami. This staff is going to a completely different level. They just went on a 3-week sprint where they were hosting 12 to 15 prospects a day. Dinners, basketball games, all of it. Billy Glasscock, the GM, working through all the finances to pull this together, working with boosters and donors and admins to make sure they had the money and everything sorted out to make sure they could pull this together. And where you sit right now is 42 portal additions, the number one transfer portal class, and a portal haul that is so epic it might never be touched. And that is not hyperbole. You got the number one quarterback, the number one left tackle, the number one edge rusher, the number 3 receiver, the number 1 safety. Y'all, this is the guy who was the leading tackler in the SEC a year ago. This is an epic portal haul, the likes of which we may never see again. Like, there will be other great hauls. It's almost like 2019 LSU. You're going to see other great teams and great championship teams, but not like that. This is kind of what they've done here, pulling this together. So I'll tell you one other thing that I was told is that, because most people just assume that this is a highest bidder situation. I was told definitively that's not the case by someone who was very familiar with all of these conversations and negotiations, that Seaton had sort of a Godfather offer. That one school made an offer that basically, if this was just about money, he would not be going to LSU. Now, LSU obviously had to make this work financially. Seaton wasn't going to take a haircut to come to LSU. The money had to make sense. But there was apparently another school out there that was a highest bidder, kind of the Godfather offer, just to see if he'd bite. Now, I don't know if that was Miami or Mississippi State, might have even been Oregon, but it was basically made clear that LSU wasn't the highest bidder for Jordan Seaton, but ultimately all the things that came together, the money, the opportunity to play in the SEC, in Tiger Stadium for Lane Kiffin, in this offense, make a championship run before he goes off to the NFL, all of that together ultimately pulled this together for LSU to land Jordan Seaton. So with Jordan Seaton now in tow, what does LSU's portal class look like? And what does it mean for the offensive line? Let me jump into that. A quick step aside, and we'll continue here. It is Locked On LSU. It's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, our friends over at FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action, because right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts you can apply to the bets that you like the most. Open your profit boost pack first thing on game day and see what boost you want to apply. The boost lets you lean into your game day instincts, whether you're back in momentum, defense, quarterback play, or even coaching, whatever it may be. The boost gives you more juice on the bets that you already like instead of forcing you to bet something new. Every play feels bigger, and the boosts make your bets feel that way too. You make your picks, apply your profit boost to go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs get rolling. So visit FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. Today's show is also brought to you by TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever just to hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or the guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. And they handle everything. W-2s, self-employment forms, all of it. And the work gets done to get you every deduction. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in if a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year. Just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. Okay, let's take a peek at what the addition of Jordan Seaton means for the portal class and for this offensive line. And I'm going to tell you just again, I am going to be fascinated because as the days continue to progress, it's typically how this goes, right? We're going to find out more and more about how this recruitment transpired. You know, once the hay's in the barn, then people start to talk. But I'll tell you one thing that I'm learning about this staff. And you know, as a reminder, this LSU staff is brand new. They've been here for not even 2 months. And the portal window has been 3 weeks. So as you're learning them, so are we, the media, the people that cover this team. And what I've learned is there are times where people will talk, and there are times when things go eerily quiet with this staff. And I guess that's to a degree true everywhere. But what's been interesting is when things go eerily quiet is when something's about to pop. And I believe in the saying, loose lips sink ships. And I think there's an all-in mentality from every angle. And I'm talking like coaches and staff members and admins and boosters and media and everybody that's like, when they know, don't say anything because you don't want to potentially upset the apple cart. That happened with the Husan Longstreet situation as well. Before they landed Husan Longstreet, it was eerily quiet. Then boom, he popped. This was similar. Everything got really quiet with Jordan Seaton. And until today, Friday at about 3:00, when I was texted and told this is imminent. It's going to be this weekend. It could even be Friday night. And ultimately, it ended up being Friday night with Jordan Seaton picking LSU. Now, one other thing real quickly that I think is an important note. The spring semester deadline to enroll has come and gone, okay, as we all very well know. Now, Oregon's on a quarter system, so there wasn't really a rush. So they have basically they have 4 quarters instead of 2 semesters. So for Seaton, the spring quarter starts March 30th. So it didn't matter for Oregon. There was no real rush to make a decision. For LSU, obviously, that deadline is passed for him to enroll in the spring semester. I did ask today about that. And what was told me is when there's great alignment, sometimes you can move mountains. Something that I think we as sports fans take for granted because we put so much emphasis on sports. Oh, of course, it's Jordan Seaton. He's a 5-star offensive lineman. Of course, they'll get him in school. I don't think oftentimes people understand, as sports fans, how many people in academia despise the fact that sports and athletes are treated at a different level. because people in academia put academia on a pedestal, not sports. So I don't think it is so cut and dry just to assume that he'd be ushered or shooed in. But I was told today that when there is great alignment, and brother, let me tell you, from Lane Kiffin and his staff, to Verge Osbury, to President Wade Roos, to the Board of Supervisors, to Governor Jeff Landry, there is alignment. The governor hosted this prospect at the governor's mansion on Monday because the head coach called him and asked him if he could bring it. There's alignment, okay? So I think they might just find a way to usher in a 6'5", 330-pound offensive lineman into the spring semester. Again, I don't have that confirmed, but I wouldn't, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if they were able to make that happen. So we'll follow it and see. And if not, he'll be here in June, and that'll be that, and it'll be fine. I think a couple of things. Number one, people are going to maybe ask about the necessity of adding Jordan Seaton. And when you had already added 8 offensive linemen, this makes 9. I think you could make the argument that this wasn't essential. And I might challenge you to look at it a different way, because think about the investment LSU has now made in this roster, okay? You've added Sam Leavitt, the number 1 player in the portal. You have added now 9 offensive linemen, 9 wide receivers, including a former 5-star and Trey Wilson, the number 3 receiver in the portal, and Jace Brown coming in from Kansas State. You've added the number 1 safety in Ty Benefield, the SEC's leading tackler, TJ Daugherty. You added the number 3 overall player in the portal and the number 1 edge in Prince Wilumon Mielen. I think you get the point. Like, you have invested a ton in this roster. Financially, the time commitment, all of it. Like, this is not a let's ease into the season and see how the Kiffin era goes. This is a go try to win a national championship right now, year 1. Like, that's what this is, okay? Make no mistakes about it. I'm not telling you they're gonna. We saw LSU land the number 1 portal class last year. It didn't look like this, but they landed the number 1 portal class last year. They went 7-6, okay? But this is a team, clearly, where the expectation, the ambition, the push, the charge is get in the playoff and see if you can go win a national championship year 1. So you have this massive investment in the roster and a massive investment at quarterback as well. And I think we can all agree that if something were to happen, knock on Formica, to Sam Leavitt, then those dreams probably go out the window. I would be super hopeful that Husan Longstreet would be ready to roll, or Landon Clark could be a Trinidad Chambliss. I don't think you can count on that. With Leavitt, that's a guy that has been a multi-year starter and has taken a team to the college football playoff, okay? So I think we look at it and go, that's the expectation. But if Leavitt isn't there, then the ceiling for this team lowers. You're good everywhere. You're great a lot of places. But the ceiling lowers without the trigger man, right? And that's, I think, a natural expectation for most every team. So when you look at Jordan Seaton being this mountain of a left tackle, right? A projected first-round pick and all the stuff we've talked about, right? PFF grade of 83. For context, Will Campbell's grade as a junior was an 80.6. Seaton's grade this year was over an 83. Seaton was better in his sophomore year than Will Campbell was in his junior year, according to PFF. Different competition. I'm not trying to have the argument. I'm just saying, for context, like, you're talking about that caliber of player, okay? You add that guy, that is basically a very expensive insurance policy on the totality of your roster, right? You spend that money on Jordan Seaton and you add Seaton because that adds this mountain of a left tackle to protect your quarterback's blind side to keep him upright this year. So that way this team can achieve, the rest of the very expensive roster can achieve its maximum level, right? It's not so you couldn't do it with the offensive line you had in place, but you're much more likely to do it now with him at left tackle. So look at how this kind of plays out on the offensive line. And, one of the conversations that I had on Friday was that this staff felt really good about the offensive line before Seaton. All right, you had already added 8 offensive linemen. And they made a priority to retain 6 players. there were 6 priority players, 3 on offense, 3 on defense. The defense were Whit Weeks, DJ Pickett, PJ Woodland. On offense, it was Harlan Berry, Trey'Dez Green, and Braylon Moore. Okay. So you retain Braylon Moore, which means your best lineman from last year is back. 2-year starter at center at Virginia Tech. Now 2 years at Ole Miss, or at LSU. This will be his 4th year as a starting center. Okay. Now you've got Jordan Seaton at left tackle. Moore at center, Seaton at left tackle. And even if you want to assume here that Weston Davis is going to be the starting right tackle, you can roll your eyes, but there's a reason they prioritized keeping him. He was a 5-star, a top 50 overall prospect in the country. Let's assume with better coaching, Eric Wolford coming in, James Craig coming in as an associate offensive line coach, and this system, this scheme, you can get better productivity out of Weston Davis, okay? You signed Alio Ba, and I was corrected on his name. I've been saying Alio. I think it's Alio. I need to write it down. But Ba from Maryland, 2-year starter in the Big Ten at right guard. He factors in at right guard. So you've got Seaton at left tackle, Braylon Moore at center, Ba, 2-year starter at right guard, and Weston Davis back at right tackle, which means you've got the left guard spot open. And for that left guard spot, look at all the options you have, right? You signed Tompkins from Baylor, okay? Tompkins from Baylor is a guy who started 5 games, played 10 games at left tackle this past season. You've got Devin Harper coming in from Ole Miss, who was supposed to be projected, this is according to Ole Miss folks, projected to be Ole Miss's starting right tackle this coming season. So maybe Harper challenges Weston Davis, or maybe he makes a run at that left guard spot. You've got Solomon Thomas. Solomon Thomas was a 5-star signee a year ago, missed his freshman season because of the broken foot he suffered before fall camp. That's a guy who can get in and compete for a job. And then you've got some of the lower level guys that you signed. We've talked about Jaquan Sprinkle, 2-year starter at NC Central, who they love as a prospect. Jacoby Jones coming in from JUCO, 2-year starter at JUCO, but they see him sort of as a project. But what if that's another Damian Lewis? Remember, Damian Lewis, LSU signed from JUCO, was a stud guard on the national championship team and is now one of the highest paid interior offensive linemen in the NFL. My point is, that's 5 right there competing for one spot. And haven't even mentioned some of the other names that are still out there. You know, Satterwhite coming in from Tennessee, who's a 2-year backup at center, but could certainly compete at guard and backup at center. All the point being, you have given yourself now great options across the board on this offensive line. You've got at least 4 spots solidified and no less than 5 really good options to battle for the left guard spot or to push Weston Davis at right tackle. And you've got now depth. So if someone twists an ankle, you're not taking a guy like DJ Chester, who played center last year, and playing him at left tackle because he's your most experienced guy and your best option. Like, now you'd be taking guys who have, God forbid, but if Seaton has diarrhea and needs to miss a series, I'm not even going to say injury. Well, now you've got Tompkins, who played left tackle at Baylor, who can kick out there and give you backup reps there. If Braylon Moore, if you're blowing a team out and Braylon Moore doesn't play the second half, well, now you've got Satterwhite, who's played games in the SEC at Tennessee as a backup. See what I'm saying here? Like Devin Harper, if Weston Davis doesn't work out, you get a rotation there with Harper, who is the projected starter at right tackle at Ole Miss. My point is, now with Seaton solidifying that spot, you've given yourself so many more options and less what ifs on the offensive line. Because I'll tell you this, the right side I think would have been set, but going into camp without Seaton, I think both positions at left tackle or on the left side of the line would have been up for grabs. Now, Tompkins from Baylor would likely have been the guy who would win the first reps at left tackle, but I don't think that that's necessarily a given. Darren Stray coming in from Kentucky is another guy they like. It's a project, but could push for playing time. Now you're talking about guys that give you great quality depth across the board. Just a massive, massive get. So for the LSU Tigers in this transfer portal class, they end up with 42 signees in the portal class. All this roster tracker, by the way, is up at louisianasports.net if you want to see it. So 42 additions to the transfer portal class. And it is just so massively impressive to look at this and to think about, guys who were at the tops of their positions when you think about what they've been able to add. I mean, it's even great depth. You think about like Fahim Delane coming in at safety, a former top 100 overall prospect. Jackson Harris at wide receiver, averaged 20 yards a reception this year at Hawaii. Stephylan Green and Malik Blockton on the interior of that defensive line. Jordan Ross, a former 5-star at Tennessee, coming in starting or giving you depth on the edge, along with Prince Wiluman and Gabriel Elliford coming back. It's incredible. I mean, it's why you're going to see this team projected as a preseason top 10 team, and on a lot of people's lists as a projected playoff team for 2026. Absolutely incredible way to finish off this portal class, an epic portal haul, the likes of which we may never see again. Let me check really quick. I'll do this on the fly, but if you look at the transfer portal class rankings, and you could look at On3 or 24/7. On3 I don't like as much because they combine the outgoing and the incoming. Well, they've updated it now with Jordan Seaton, and LSU's points on 24/7, 87.83. That's LSU's grade on 24/7, and 87.83. The next closest portal class is Ole Miss with a 63.81. LSU 24 points better than the number 2 portal class. Truly an epic portal haul, a heavy lift, the likes of which we may never see again. So the Portal King has earned his reputation, but championships are not won in December or January. They're won in the fall. Well, I guess championships literally are won in January. I mean, you literally play the championship game in January. So I guess, yes, in a literal sense, the championship is won in January. But you got to build your roster now to be ready to roll come September. And I don't know that LSU could have dreamed a better scenario than what they've been able to do. Okay, LSU lands Jordan Seaton to polish off this transfer portal class. Do me a favor. If you're listening on podcast, thank you so much for being there. Subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Rate us, leave a review. If you're on YouTube, and more than 3,700 of you watching live with us on YouTube, thank you. God bless all of you. I'm so glad you're here. Do me a favor. Take a quick second. Smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video. And be sure to let a friend know that they love the Tigers. We got you here every single day. It is Locked on LSU, your team every day.